Welcome to This Explainer. If you're a startup founder or solopreneur, landing those very first 10 B2B customers is a massive, absolute make or break milestone. But let's be real for a second. They are almost never going to magically appear from some perfectly automated sales funnel. Getting those first 10 customers, it requires a structured, founder-led chronological roadmap. Okay, let's dive into this and unpack exactly how we build that foundation starting from day one. But before we officially start the clock on our 90-day plan, we really have to pause and ask ourselves a critical starting question. What actually counts as a valid customer? It's so tempting to think, hey, any traction is good traction, right? But your objective right now is absolutely not just to collect 10 random logos at any cost. You need concrete evidence of a customer pattern, something that can eventually support a predictable, highly scalable sales engine. So, the crucial point is understanding the incredibly stark difference between false signals and true market validation. Your mom buying a discounted subscription just to be supportive, or 10 people using your product totally for free, that does not validate your business. What we're actually looking for are buyers who are experiencing an urgent problem and are willing to pay a commercially sustainable price. You want customers who achieve a repeatable outcome and would literally be disappointed if your solution just disappeared tomorrow. To help you find those exact buyers, this explainer is going to break down what can feel like a totally daunting customer acquisition process into a really practical 90-day sprint. We'll be looking at 4 main phases: define, engage, close, and scale. And finally, we'll wrap up with a tracking system called the scorecard to keep your momentum going over the long haul. Let's kick things right off with phase 1. Days 1 to 15, define. This is all about building the foundation. Right here at the very beginning of our timeline, your objective is absolutely not to sell. Let me repeat that. Do not try to sell yet. Instead, your goal is to define a painful, expensive, and incredibly urgent problem for a very specific audience. Look, if the problem you're solving isn't urgent or commercially important, sending 1,000 more emails simply will not fix the situation. The target outcome for this initial 2-week window, you want to walk away with a crystal clear market hypothesis, a prioritized prospect list, and a highly focused minimum viable offer. You are setting the guardrails for everything else that follows. To get that clear market hypothesis, you need what's called a micro-ICP. Simply targeting something like small businesses in the US is way, way too broad. It doesn't help you do targeted research at all. And this brilliantly illustrates why you have to narrow it down to one primary industry, a narrow company size, one geography, one high-value use case, and one primary buyer. A micro-ICP is your secret weapon for highly relevant messaging. Keep in mind, you aren't locking yourself into this segment forever, okay? You're just creating a focused starting hypothesis to test out in the wild through real conversations. Once you've got that micro-ICP dialed in, you need to build your Founders 100 list. Please, whatever you do, do not go out and purchase some massive generic email database. They're a waste of time. Instead, build a lightweight sales pipeline of exactly 100 carefully selected people across 5 specific groups. You want 20 strong relationships, 20 warm connections, 20 referral sources, 20 community prospects, and 20 trigger-based accounts, meaning companies experiencing a timely, relevant reason to buy right this very second. You want to prioritize folks who have both a probable need and a credible reason to speak with you. All right, moving right along into phase 2, engage. Days 16 through 30 are completely dedicated to finding your first actual customers. Looking at our timeline, we are now firmly in the engagement window. This is the exact moment where you map out your network and start requesting very specific, forwardable introductions. A generic, "Hey everyone, I launched a startup post" on LinkedIn. Yeah, that rarely generates any meaningful opportunities. You have to tell your network exactly who you want to speak with and what specific problem you are exploring so they can actually help you. Your target outcome over these 2 weeks is all about gaining validated customer language, strengthening your positioning, and building out an initial opportunity pipeline strictly from that golden list of 100 people we just created. To achieve that outcome, you need to hit one very critical number: 15. Your big goal right now is to conduct exactly 15 problem discovery conversations. And notice how I said discovery conversations. Please do not start these chats with a product demonstration. Your responsibility right now is purely to understand the market. You are not there to pitch features. So during these 15 conversations, you'll want to lean heavily on targeted problem discovery questions. Ask them, how are you managing this issue right now? What happens if it goes unresolved? What does it actually cost you in terms of time or money? Who ultimately owns this problem? Is there a hard deadline? Your main job here as a founder is to just listen. Listen closely for repeated language. You want to intimately understand exactly how the customer experiences this problem before you ever even think about offering a pilot proposal. Believe me, the phrases they naturally use right here, those are going to become your absolute best future marketing and sales copy. And that deep, intimate understanding leads us straight into phase 3, close. Covering days 31 to 60, it is finally time to recruit your design partners. Checking back in with our timeline for month 2. The objective entirely shifts gears. We are now leveraging all the great data from those 15 discovery conversations to secure early, tangible commitments. And it's incredibly important to remember that at this early stage, trust in you, the founder, matters so much more than trust in your relatively unknown company. Right now, you are selling your own personal credibility and your sheer commitment to solving their problem. And the magic number for this closing phase? It's 3. Your goal is to recruit exactly 3 paying design partners. Let me emphasize that word, paying. These aren't just free beta users. A strong design partner receives preferential pricing and direct access to you, the founder. In exchange for that VIP treatment, you ask for honest, structured feedback, a killer testimonial if you deliver value, and a couple of relevant introductions after you achieve the agreed outcome. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how collaborative phrasing solves a huge problem for founders, which is hesitating to actually ask for a decision. You really don't have to become aggressive or overly salesy to close a deal. Instead of ending a pitch with a weak, "Hey, let me know what you think," recommending a specific time to review the proposal with stakeholders ensures your document never just sits there gathering dust in an inbox. You are simply helping all parties reach a clear, scheduled next step. Welcome to Phase 4, Scale. Covering our final stretch, days 61 to 90, we are officially moving from 3 to 10 customers. As we anchor into this final stretch of our timeline, your strategy has to fundamentally shift. We're moving away from pure experimentation and leaning fully into evidence-led replication. Basically, you're taking everything you just learned, all that amazing proof you gathered from customers 1, 2, and 3, and using those exact insights to build a repeatable pattern, a pattern capable of confidently securing customers 4 through 10. Let's move to and see how this builds into what is known as a customer proof loop. This, right here, is how you systematically generate high-quality referrals. First, you document the customer's baseline problem before you even begin delivery. Next, you implement your solution. Then, you capture the measurable outcome. And finally, and honestly, this is the absolute most important part, you ask for 2 introductions right at the moment of value. Seriously, don't wait 3 months until their excitement fades. Ask immediately after the customer recognizes that you delivered a meaningful, measurable result. To continue scaling up to customer number 10, you're also going to run a 5-account sprint every single week. Look, we all know the absolute emotional pain of sending out 500 generic cold emails and hearing absolutely nothing back but crickets. So stop blasting massive lists. Instead, deeply research and target just 5 high-potential accounts per week. Look for triggers out there in the news, like a recent funding round, a new executive appointment, maybe a regulatory deadline. Connect that trigger to a plausible business issue they might be having and send a highly personalized founder email. Finally, we reach our 5th and final section, the scorecard. This is all about sustaining the engine you just built. So, you have executed the 90-day plan. Amazing. But how do you avoid completely stalling out between day 90 and your next major growth milestone? By actively tracking your momentum. By monitoring specific weekly activities on your scorecard, things like aiming for 5 to 10 accounts researched, requesting 5 warm intros, conducting 3 to 5 discovery conversations, and offering 1 to 3 proposals, you ensure consistent forward movement. And even more importantly, it helps you diagnose pipeline bottlenecks. For example, if conversations are happening but proposals aren't, you probably have a qualification problem. If proposals are going out but customers just aren't buying, well, then you need to investigate your pricing, the trust factor, or maybe their decision process. Before we wrap things up, we absolutely have to highlight a massive early-stage mistake: automating too early. This is a crucial trap to avoid, guys. Automation simply scales whatever already exists. If you have poor targeting and weak messaging, automating is just going to scale that failure way faster. You have to fight that urge and contrast it with the absolute necessity of validating your sales motion manually over these 90 days. Get out there, speak with potential buyers, learn their actual language, and prove the commercial value manually before you ever attempt to automate your outreach. Which brings us to our final critical question. Are you actually ready to build a structured, scalable revenue engine? Or do you still need to validate your market manually through founder-led sales? Just remember, your first 10 customers are only the beginning. They teach you the why. Winning the next 50? That requires a completely different machine. So use these 90 days to learn, adapt, and build that rock-solid foundation your business deserves. Thanks so much for joining me in this explainer. Now get out there and go get those first 10 customers.